The lights on the Kalari ship flickered like dying stars. Commander Zevka pressed her 4 hands against the cool metal wall and felt the ship shake again. Something was hunting them in the dark space between worlds, and her people had no weapons to fight back. The gentle current was not built for war. It was a research ship, designed to study the beautiful things in space. Old stars, colorful gas clouds, and the ancient rocks that floated between galaxies. The Kalari people were peaceful. They had never hurt anyone in their long history. They studied, they learned, and they shared what they found with other species across the galaxy, but now something wanted to hurt them. Zevka's skin was pale blue like shallow ocean water. Her people came from a world covered in warm seas. They breathed water and moved through it like dancers. Their ships were built the same way, smooth and curved, with no sharp edges or angry corners. Everything about the Kalari was gentle. The ship shook again, harder this time. Red lights flashed on the control panels. Her crew looked at her with their large, dark eyes full of fear. They had been running for 2 days now, ever since they found the strange structure near the dead star. It had been huge, bigger than a moon, made of metal that bent light around it. The moment their sensors touched it, something woke up inside. Ships came out of the structure, sleek and dangerous looking. They moved like sharks through water, fast and hungry. The Kalari had tried to run immediately. Their ship was fast, built for long journeys between stars. But the hunter ships were faster. They caught up within hours and began their cruel game. They did not try to destroy the gentle current quickly. Instead, they hurt it slowly. First, they damaged the engines, making the ship slower. Then they broke the communication systems, cutting the Kalari off from help. They destroyed the weapon sensors, even though the research ship had no weapons to begin with. The hunters seemed to enjoy the chase. They would disappear for hours, letting the Kalari think they were safe. Then they would appear again, closer than before, and break something else. It was like a cat playing with a mouse before eating it. Now the life support systems were failing. The air was getting thin and the temperature was dropping. Zevka's crew was getting weak. Soon they would all die in the cold dark of space, far from their warm home seas. She had one choice left. In her command chair was a red button that she had hoped never to use. It was the universal distress signal, a call for help that would reach every species within 50 light-years of their position. The signal would tell everyone exactly where they were and what was happening to them. The problem was that most species were too far away to help. The Galactic Confederation had ships, but they were 3 days away. The Kalari would be dead long before help arrived. The only ships close enough to reach them in time belonged to a species that scared most people in the galaxy: the humans. Zevka had heard stories about humans. They came from a world so dangerous that most scientists said life should not be possible there. The planet had crushing gravity, poisonous air, deadly weather, and animals that existed only to kill other animals. Yet somehow humans had not just survived. They had become the most dangerous predators in their world. When humans finally reached space, they brought their violent nature with them. Their ships were covered in weapons. Their soldiers were trained to fight in conditions that would kill most other species. They treated space like a battlefield and acted like every other species was either an ally to protect or an enemy to destroy. Other species called them Deathworlders and tried to avoid them. The humans did not seem to care. They built their fleets, claimed their territory, and made it clear that they would fight anyone who threatened them or their friends. But the Kalari were not friends with the humans. They had never even met them. The research ship was alone in space with no one to help them except the most feared species in the local galaxy. Zevka closed her eyes and pressed the red button. The distress signal shot out into space at the speed of light. It carried a simple message in the universal language that all space-traveling species understood. Help us. We are dying. Unknown enemies are hunting us. Please save us. The signal reached many ships and stations across the local region of space. Most ignored it. The Kalari were far away and someone else's problem. Some recorded it for later study. A few sent back messages saying they would try to help. But they were too far away. The signal also reached a human fleet patrol ship called the Retribution. Admiral Sarah Chen was in her command center when the communication officer brought her the message. She was a small woman with short black hair and dark eyes that missed nothing. Her uniform was simple and practical, designed for combat rather than ceremony. Scars on her hands showed that she had fought her way up through the ranks. "Admiral," the communication officer said, "we're getting a distress call from a Kalari research vessel. They're being attacked by unknown hostiles about 6 hours away at maximum speed." Chen looked at the star map on her screen. 6 hours was a long time in a space battle. The Kalari ship might already be destroyed by the time her fleet arrived. But she had heard of the Kalari before. They were peaceful researchers who had never hurt anyone. The idea of someone hunting them through space made her angry. "What's our current mission status?" she asked. "Routine patrol, Admiral. Nothing urgent." Chen made her decision quickly, the way humans always did. While other species would have called meetings and discussed options and asked for permission from higher command, she simply acted. "Change course immediately. All ships maximum speed toward the Kalari distress signal. Prepare for combat operations." Her crew moved fast the way human crews always did. Within minutes, 3 heavy cruisers and a carrier group were racing through space toward the unknown enemy. The human ships were not beautiful like the Kalari vessel. They were built for war. Thick armor, powerful engines, and enough weapons to destroy small moons. As they flew through space, Chen studied what little information they had. The Kalari message said unknown enemies, which meant these attackers were not part of any known species in the galactic database. That was interesting and dangerous. New species usually meant new technology, and new technology could be a problem. But Chen was not worried. Humans had a simple approach to new problems. Apply enough force until the problem stopped being a problem. They had learned this lesson on their deadly homeworld, where everything from the weather to the smallest insects tried to kill them every day. The human fleet raced through space toward the dying Kalari ship. In the cold dark between stars, something was about to learn why other species feared the Deathworlders. Behind them, Admiral Chen was already planning the battle. She did not know what they would find when they arrived. She did not know how advanced the enemy was or how many ships they had. But she knew one thing for certain. If someone was hunting peaceful researchers for sport, the hunt was about to turn around. The humans were coming, and they were very good at hunting hunters. The human fleet moved through space like angry sharks. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the stars streak past as her ships pushed their engines to maximum speed. Around her, the crew worked with the smooth efficiency that made humans feared across the galaxy. The bridge was dark and functional, lit only by the glow of computer screens and status lights. Everything was built for war. The chairs were designed to keep people in place during violent maneuvers. The walls were thick enough to stop enemy fire. Even the air tasted different, recycled and clean, ready for battle. "ETA to target, 4 hours and 30 minutes, reported the navigation officer. She was young, but moved with the confidence of someone who had trained for this her entire life. Humans started learning to fight before they could walk properly. "Sensor report," Chen ordered. The sensor operator, a tall man with mechanical implants replacing his left eye, looked up from his station. "Long-range sensors are picking up multiple contacts around the Kalari vessel. At least 6 ships, possibly more. They're using some kind of stealth technology. Our sensors can barely see them." Chen nodded. Stealth technology was common among predator species. They liked to hunt from the shadows, striking when their prey could not see them coming. It was an effective tactic against most species. It would not work against humans. "Signal the fleet," Chen ordered. "When we arrive, we deploy in hunter formation. If these things want to play hide and seek, we'll show them how Deathworlders play that game." The message went out to the other ships in the fleet. The heavy cruisers, unstoppable, defiant, and relentless, acknowledged the order. So did the carrier Indomitable with its squadrons of fighters. Each ship was crewed by humans who had volunteered to serve in space, far from their home world. Most other species avoided military service if they could. Humans competed for the chance to serve on warships. They came from a world where only the strong survived, and they carried that strength with them to the stars. As the fleet raced toward the battle, Chen studied the data they had on the attackers. The Kalari distress signal had included sensor readings from their ship. The enemy vessels were sleek and organic-looking, unlike anything in the galactic database. Their energy signatures were strange, suggesting technology that was very advanced or very different from what most species used. "Admiral," the communication officer called out, "we're getting an update from the Kalari ship. Their life support is down to 6 hours. They're also reporting that the attackers are Playing with them, Chen's face went hard. She had grown up on Earth where predators killed quickly when they were hungry. Only the worst kind of predator played with its food. The idea of someone torturing peaceful researchers made something cold and angry wake up in her chest. "How long until we're in weapons range?" she asked. 3 hours, 50 minutes at current speed. Not good enough. Signal all ships, emergency speed. Burn the engines if we have to. The fleet pushed harder, racing through space fast enough to cross a solar system in minutes. The human ships groaned under the stress, but they held together. They were built by a species that understood that sometimes you had to risk everything to save someone who could not save themselves. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Maria Santos watched her fighter pilots prepare for battle. Human pilots were different from other species. Where most aliens flew their ships like careful drivers, humans flew like they were part of the machine. They could handle forces that would knock other species unconscious, and they treated impossible maneuvers like simple turns. "Captain," her wing commander reported, "all squadrons ready for deployment. The pilots are asking for permission to go weapons hot the moment we drop out of faster-than-light travel." Santos smiled. Human pilots never wanted to wait for orders when there was a fight coming. "Tell them they have permission to engage any hostile target the moment we arrive. No warnings, no negotiations. These things are hunting civilians." The message spread through the fighter bays. Pilots climbed into their small, fast ships with grins on their faces. They had trained their entire lives for moments like this. The chance to protect innocent people from predators. Meanwhile, in the space around the Kalari ship, the hunters continued their cruel game. The enemy ships moved like ghosts, appearing and disappearing as their stealth systems bent light around them. They had been playing with their prey for days now, slowly destroying systems and watching the peaceful researchers panic. The lead hunter ship was commanded by something that called itself Devourer of Light. It belonged to an ancient species that had been hunting younger civilizations for thousands of years. They had perfected the art of fear, breaking their victims slowly before finally killing them. Devourer of Light studied the dying Kalari ship with satisfaction. Soon it would add another species to its collection of extinct civilizations. The Kalari would join hundreds of other races that had died screaming in the dark, while the galaxy's civilized powers did nothing to help. The hunter did not know that help was coming. It had never encountered humans before, never studied their history or learned how they fought. If it had, it might have done things differently. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the battle zone. Immediately their sensors lit up with contacts. 6 enemy ships were visible, moving around the Kalari vessel like sharks around a wounded fish. The human ships spread out in attack formation, their weapons already charging. Admiral Chen looked at the tactical display and made her decision. Other species might have tried to communicate first, to understand who these attackers were and what they wanted. Humans had a simpler approach to the problem. "All ships," she announced over the fleet communication channel. "These hostiles are hunting civilians. You are authorized to engage with maximum force. Show them what happens when someone hunts our friends." The human ships opened fire. The first salvo lit up space like a new star being born. Plasma cannons, railguns, and missile launchers all fired at once. The humans did not aim at specific targets. They aimed at the entire area around the Kalari ship. If the enemy wanted to use stealth technology, the humans would make stealth impossible. The space around the dying research vessel erupted in fire and light. Energy beams crossed back and forth like a deadly web. Kinetic rounds moved so fast they heated the space around them. Missiles exploded in brilliant flashes, releasing clouds of metal fragments that would shred anything they touched. The hunter ships tried to maintain their stealth, but it was useless. The human attack was so intense that it created an electromagnetic storm that made hiding impossible. One by one, the sleek predator vessels were forced to drop their stealth and reveal themselves. Devourer of Light felt something it had not experienced in centuries. Surprise. These new ships fought like nothing it had ever seen. Instead of careful, precise attacks, they used overwhelming force. Instead of trying to outmaneuver their enemies, they simply filled space with so much firepower that maneuvering became pointless. The first hunter ship to fully decloak died immediately. The human cruiser, Unstoppable, hit it with a focus barrage that punched through its advanced armor like it was made of paper. The elegant vessel broke apart in a shower of metal and light. Admiral Chen watched the destruction with satisfaction. That's one down. Let's finish the rest. The battle for the Kalari ship had begun, and the hunters were about to learn why humans were called Deathworlders. The death of the first hunter ship sent shockwaves through the enemy fleet. Devourer of Light stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The elegant vessel that had taken centuries to build was now nothing but glowing debris scattered across space. These newcomers fought like no species it had ever encountered. Where most civilized races used precise, careful attacks, these creatures simply filled space with destruction. Their weapons were crude but brutally effective, designed not for elegance but for maximum damage. All ships, Devourer of Light commanded its fleet, decloak and engage. These primitives will learn what it means to face a superior species. The remaining 5 hunter ships dropped their stealth and revealed themselves in all their terrible beauty. Each vessel was a work of art, grown rather than built, with curves that seemed to flow like liquid metal. Their hulls were covered in symbols that hurt to look at directly, the marks of a species that had been killing for longer than most civilizations had existed. But Admiral Chen was not impressed by pretty ships. She had seen beautiful things before, and she had watched them burn when they threatened innocent people. Target the largest ship first, she ordered. All weapons full spread. Show them what human engineering looks like. The human fleet concentrated its fire on the lead hunter vessel. Plasma beams hot enough to melt steel struck the enemy ship's hull. Railgun rounds moving at significant fractions of light speed punched through armor that should have been impenetrable. Missile warheads designed to crack asteroid fortresses exploded against the alien vessel's shields. The hunter ship should have died. Its technology was thousands of years more advanced than anything humans possessed. Its defenses had stopped weapons that could destroy planets. Instead, it fought back. The ship's hull began to glow with an inner light. Strange energies danced across its surface as it powered weapons that existed beyond human understanding. When it fired, reality seemed to bend around the attack. The beam that reached out toward the human fleet was not made of energy or matter. It was made of pure entropy, designed to unmake whatever it touched. The attack struck the cruiser Defiant directly in the center of its hull. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then sections of the ship's armor simply ceased to exist, leaving holes that led to nothing at all. But the Defiant did not die. The ship's crew, trained on a world where everything tried to kill them, responded to the impossible attack with typically human stubbornness. Damage control teams sealed the holes with emergency patches. Engineers rerouted power around destroyed systems. The ship kept fighting. Damage report, Admiral Chen demanded. Defiant has taken heavy damage but is still operational, came the reply. Whatever that weapon was, it unmade about 20% of their hull. But they're still in the fight, Chen nodded grimly. This was what made humans dangerous. They did not know when to quit. Other species might have retreated after seeing a weapon that could erase matter from existence. Humans just got angry and started shooting back harder. All ships, focus fire on that lead vessel. If it wants to show off its fancy weapons, let's see how they work when we remove the ship firing them. The human fleet concentrated every weapon they had on the lead hunter ship. The alien vessel's shields flared and sparked under the assault. Its beautiful hull began to crack and burn, but it was incredibly tough. Designed to survive battles against entire fleets, that was when Captain Santos released her fighters. The human pilots launched from the carrier indomitable like angry wasps from a disturbed nest. Their ships were small and fast, built for one purpose, to get close to enemy vessels and destroy them from the inside. Each fighter carried enough firepower to level a city, crammed into a hull barely large enough for one person. The hunter ships tried to target the fighters with their main weapons, but the small craft were too fast and too many. Human pilots flew in ways that would have killed any other species, pulling turns that should have liquefied their bodies, flying through explosions that should have vaporized their ships. Lieutenant Jake Martinez led the first attack run. He was 25 years old and had been flying since he was 16. His ship screamed through space at speeds that made the stars blur into lines of light. "This is Phoenix Leader," he announced over the communication channel. "Beginning attack run on the big ugly ship. All wings, follow my lead and try not to die stupidly." The fighters dove toward the lead hunter vessel like a swarm of metal insects. The alien ship's point defense systems tried to stop them, filling space with deadly energy beams. But human pilots had trained for this exact situation. They wove between the attacks with inhuman skill, their ships dancing through the defensive fire like leaves in a hurricane. Martinez reached the enemy ship first. His fighters' weapons were simple compared to the alien technology, just kinetic rounds fired at very high speed. But sometimes simple was better. His shots punched through the hunter ship's hull and exploded inside, destroying systems that had taken centuries to perfect. More fighters followed, each one adding their firepower to the attack. The beautiful alien vessel began to come apart under the assault, its perfect curves torn and broken by human stubbornness and superior numbers. Devourer of Light felt something it had not experienced in thousands of years. Fear. These creatures fought like nothing in its long experience. They should have been terrified by superior technology. Instead, they seemed to get more dangerous when faced with impossible odds. The hunter ship's hull cracked open like a broken egg. Atmosphere rushed out into space, carrying with it the remains of technology that predated most civilizations. The elegant vessel that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia died with a silent explosion that lit up the darkness. Admiral Chen watched the destruction and felt a cold satisfaction. That's 2 down. 4 to go. The remaining hunter ships tried to retreat, but it was too late. The human fleet had them surrounded, and humans did not believe in letting enemies escape to fight another day. The battle continued as the Deathworlders showed the ancient predators what real hunting looked like. One by one, the remaining hunter ships fell. The Unstoppable caught one trying to flee and tore it apart with concentrated fire. The Relentless trapped another between asteroids and pounded it until it stopped moving. The fighters swarmed over the last 2 vessels like piranha, stripping away their defenses piece by piece until there was nothing left but scrap metal. In less than an hour, the entire hunter fleet was destroyed. 6 ships that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries were now nothing but glowing debris floating in space. The Kalari vessel, Gentle Current, drifted alone in the aftermath, its crew unable to believe what they had just witnessed. The humans had arrived and destroyed their attackers so completely that nothing remained but memories and wreckage. Admiral Chen looked at the tactical display and saw that the battle was over. The unknown enemies were dead, and the peaceful researchers were safe. It was a good day's work. Signal the Kalari ship, she ordered. Let them know the area is secure and prepare rescue operations. I want to know who those attackers were and why they were hunting civilians. The human fleet moved toward the damaged research vessel, their weapons still charged and ready. The battle was over, but Admiral Chen had a feeling that this was just the beginning of something much larger. In the wreckage of the hunter ships, emergency beacons began to activate, sending signals to a hidden base deep in the space between stars. The Devourers had lost a hunting pack, but they were far from finished. Soon they would learn that they had made a terrible mistake by hunting in human space. The human rescue shuttle moved slowly toward the Kalari ship, its hull scarred from the recent battle. Inside, Admiral Chen sat across from a medical team and tried to prepare herself for first contact with a species she had only heard about in reports. The Kalari were known throughout the galaxy as peaceful researchers. They had never fought a war, never conquered another world, never even raised their voices in anger. To the humans who came from a world where violence was as natural as breathing, the Kalari seemed almost impossible to understand. The shuttle docked with the Gentle Current with a soft thud that echoed through both vessels. Chen checked her sidearm out of habit, then reminded herself that she was here to help, not fight. The airlock cycled open with a hiss of equalizing pressure. The first thing Chen noticed was the smell, salt water and something like ocean plants. The second thing she noticed was how different the ship's interior was from human vessels, where human ships were built for war. With straight lines and hard angles, the Kalari ship curved and flowed like something that had grown rather than been built. Commander Zefka waited in the airlock, her forearms spread in what Chen hoped was a peaceful gesture. The Kalari was tall and graceful, with blue-green skin that seemed to shimmer in the soft light. Her large dark eyes looked at Chen with a mixture of gratitude and terror. Admiral Chen, Zefka said in careful, accented English, I am Commander Zefka of the research vessel Gentle Current. We owe you our lives. Chen studied the alien commander and tried to project calm authority. She had dealt with other species before, but always in military situations. This was different. These were civilians who had been hunted by something that should have killed them. Commander, Chen replied simply, are you and your crew injured? Do you need medical assistance? The directness of the question seemed to surprise Zefka. Other species would have started with formal greetings and diplomatic protocols. Humans cut straight to what mattered. We have some injuries from the attacks, Zefka admitted. Our life support systems are failing, and several crew members are suffering from oxygen deprivation. Chen turned to her medical team. Get to work. Help anyone who needs it. She looked back at the Kalari commander. We need to talk about those ships that attacked you. What were they and why were they hunting your people? They moved deeper into the Kalari ship, past crew members who stared at the humans with wide, frightened eyes. Chen understood their reaction. To a species that had never known violence, humans probably looked like walking nightmares, predators barely contained in civilized form. In the ship's main research lab, Zefka showed Chen what they had discovered before the attack. The holographic display showed a massive structure hidden near a dead star, built from materials that did not appear in any galactic database. We found this 3 days ago, Zefka explained. It's ancient, older than any known civilization in this part of the galaxy. When we tried to scan it, those ships came out and began hunting us. Chen studied the image with growing concern. The structure was huge, the size of a small moon and clearly artificial, but it was also clearly not built by any known species. The architecture was wrong, designed by minds that thought in ways that most civilizations could not understand. What did your sensors tell you about the structure? Chen asked. Very little, Zefka admitted. Our scans were blocked by some kind of interference, but we detected energy signatures that suggest the structure is still active, still occupied. Chen's expression hardened. An unknown alien base in this region of space was a threat to every peaceful species in the area. And if it was home to the creatures that had attacked the Kalari, it needed to be dealt with. I need all the data you collected, Chen said. Sensor readings, navigation logs, everything. Zefka hesitated. Admiral, with respect, this is a scientific discovery. It should be studied by researchers, not destroyed by military forces. Chen looked at the Kalari commander with something approaching pity. The peaceful species still did not understand what they had stumbled into. Commander, Chen said quietly, those ships that attacked you weren't trying to drive you away from a scientific discovery. They were hunting you for sport. They wanted to kill you slowly for fun. That's not science, that's predation. The truth of it hit Zefka like a physical blow. In her entire life, she had never encountered true malice. The idea that someone might cause pain simply because they enjoyed it was almost beyond her ability to understand. But why? She whispered. We never harmed anyone. We were just studying the structure. Because they could, Chen answered simply. Some species hunt for food, some hunt for territory. These things hunt because they enjoy the fear and pain of their victims. Chen's communication device chimed with an incoming message. She activated it and saw the face of her intelligence officer, Lieutenant Commander Torres. Admiral, Torres reported, we've analyzed the wreckage of those enemy ships. You're not going to like what we found. Report, Chen ordered. The technology is thousands of years more advanced than anything in our databases. But more importantly, we found data storage devices in the wreckage. According to what we've been able to translate, these creatures call themselves the Devourers. They've been hunting and killing entire civilizations for millennia. Chen felt a cold anger building in her chest. How many civilizations? Hundreds, Admiral. Maybe thousands. They keep records of their kills like trophies. And according to their data, they have a main base hidden somewhere in this region of space. Zefka listened to the conversation with growing horror. You mean they've done this before? To other species? Many times, Chen confirmed. And they'll keep doing it until someone stops them. The Kalari commander's forearms trembled. What can we do? We're researchers, not warriors. We don't even have weapons on our ship. Chen looked at the alien with something approaching respect. Despite her fear, Zefka was still thinking about her duty to protect her people and other innocent species. You don't need to do anything, Chen said. This is what humans do. We stop predators. Over the next few hours, human technicians worked with the Kalari crew to repair their ship's critical systems. The two species were so different that cooperation should have been impossible. But humans had learned to work with many alien species over the years. The Kalari watched in amazement as human engineers fixed their damaged systems with tools that seemed designed more for destruction than repair. Everything humans built was over-engineered for survival, designed to work even when everything went wrong. As the repairs continued, Chen studied the data from the alien structure. The more she learned, the more convinced she became that immediate action was necessary. The Devourers had been killing innocent species for thousands of years while the galaxy's civilized powers did nothing. That was about to change. Chen activated her fleet communication system and addressed all her ship captains at once. "Attention all vessels," she announced. "We have confirmed the existence of a hostile alien base in this region of space. The occupants have been systematically hunting and killing peaceful species for millennia. Under human defense doctrine, this constitutes a clear and present danger to all innocent life in this region." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "We're going to find their base, and we're going to destroy it completely. Any questions?" The response came back immediately from every ship in the fleet. "No questions, Admiral. Ready to proceed on your orders." Zefka stared at Chen in amazement. The human had just made a decision that would affect the entire galaxy, and she had done it without consulting any higher authority or calling for backup. "Admiral," Zefka said carefully, "shouldn't you contact your government? Ask for orders?" Chen looked at the Kalari commander with a smile that was not entirely pleasant. "Commander, my orders are to protect innocent life and destroy threats to galactic peace. Those creatures have been killing peaceful species for thousands of years. That makes them a threat that needs to be eliminated." She stood up and checked her sidearm again. "Besides," she added, "they made it personal when they decided to hunt civilians. Humans take that kind of thing very seriously." The hunt for the Devourer base was about to begin. The human fleet moved through the darkness between stars like a pack of hunting wolves. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Retribution, studying the sensor readings that would lead them to the Devourer base. Behind her, the crew worked with the quiet efficiency of predators closing in on their prey. It had taken 3 days to track down the hidden structure. The Devourers had chosen their location well. A rogue planet that had been thrown out of its solar system millions of years ago, drifting alone in the void where no one would think to look for it. But humans were very good at finding things that did not want to be found. They had learned that skill on Earth, where the best hunters could track prey through forests and across continents. In space, the principle was the same. Follow the traces, think like your target, and never give up. "Sensor contact," reported the detection officer. "Massive artificial structure bearing 27 Mark IV. Distance approximately 1 million kilometers." Chen looked at the main display as the image resolved. The Devourer base was even larger than the Kalari data had suggested. It was built inside the rogue planet itself, with sections of the artificial structure extending out from the planet's surface like metal growths. Energy readings suggested it was heavily defended and fully operational. "How many ships?" Chen asked. "Difficult to tell with all the interference, but sensor estimates suggest at least 50 vessels of various sizes. Some of them are much larger than the ships we fought before." Chen nodded grimly. This was not going to be an easy fight. The humans were outnumbered and facing technology they did not fully understand, but they had advantages that the Devourers did not expect. "Signal all ships," Chen ordered. "Prepare for assault operations. We're going in hard and fast." The human fleet had spent the last 3 days preparing for this attack. They had studied the wreckage of the destroyed Devourer ships, learning everything they could about alien technology and tactics. More importantly, they had prepared specialized weapons and tactics designed specifically for this battle. Captain Santos launched her fighters first. The small craft raced ahead of the main fleet, using their speed and stealth systems to scout the enemy defenses. What they found confirmed Chen's worst fears. The base was protected by weapons that could destroy entire fleets. "Admiral," Santos reported from the Indomitable, "the base has planetary defense systems, energy weapons that could crack moons. If we try a direct assault, they'll cut us apart before we get close." Chen had expected this. Ancient predator species did not survive for thousands of years without learning how to protect themselves. But humans had an answer for that problem. "Execute Plan Omega," Chen ordered. Plan Omega was something that only humans would have considered. Instead of attacking the base directly, they were going to attack the planet it was built inside. The human fleet spread out in a wide formation and began bombarding the rogue planet with kinetic rounds moving at significant fractions of light speed. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Each impact released energy equivalent to a nuclear weapon. But more importantly, the impacts destabilized the planet's structure. The Devourer base, built inside the planet, began to shake apart as earthquakes tore through the artificial caverns and tunnels. The Devourers responded quickly, launching their ships to defend their ancient stronghold. But they made a critical mistake. They expected the humans to fight like a civilized species, with careful tactics and minimal collateral damage. Instead, the humans fought like the apex predators they were. Lieutenant Martinez led his fighter squadron into the enemy formation with weapons blazing. The Devourer ships were larger and more advanced, but human pilots had trained for this exact situation, fighting against superior numbers and technology. Phoenix Squadron, this is lead, Martinez announced over the communication channel. Remember your training. These things are predators, but we're bigger predators. Show them what Earth evolution looks like. The human fighters swarmed over the enemy ships like angry insects. Each pilot flew with a reckless courage that would have terrified most species. They pulled maneuvers that should have killed them, absorbed damage that should have destroyed their ships, and kept fighting long after any reasonable person would have retreated. The Devourer ships found themselves facing an enemy that simply would not die. Human fighters that lost engines kept fighting on momentum. Pilots whose life support systems failed held their breath and kept shooting. One fighter, its entire front section blown away, continued the attack by ramming an enemy ship and detonating its remaining weapons inside the target's hull. Meanwhile, the human capital ships engaged the larger Devourer vessels in close combat. The aliens had superior technology, but humans had superior tactics. They fought as a coordinated pack, covering each other's weaknesses and concentrating fire on isolated targets. The cruiser, Unstoppable, found itself facing 3 enemy ships at once. The Devourer vessels attacked with weapons that bent space itself, trying to crush the human ship with gravitational forces. But the Unstoppable had been built by people who understood that sometimes you had to endure the impossible. The ship's hull groaned under the assault, but it held together. Human engineering was not elegant, but it was incredibly tough. When the enemy ships moved in for the killing blow, the Unstoppable surprised them by ramming the lead vessel at full speed. The collision should have destroyed both ships. Instead, the human vessel's reinforced hull punched through the alien ship's elegant armor like a hammer through glass. The Devourer ship broke apart, its advanced technology useless against simple kinetic force applied with enough determination. Deep inside the rogue planet, the ancient Devourer leadership watched their fleet being destroyed with growing panic. They had ruled the darkness between stars for millennia, feeding on the fear and pain of younger species. Nothing had ever challenged them successfully. Now they faced an enemy that seemed to get stronger the more damage it took. The humans did not retreat when faced with superior technology. They did not surrender when outnumbered. They just kept fighting with a determination that bordered on insanity. The Master of the Hunt, an ancient creature that had personally overseen the extinction of dozens of civilizations, made the decision to activate the base's ultimate weapon, a device that could destroy entire star systems by causing their suns to collapse. But the weapon required time to charge, and time was something the Devourers no longer had. Admiral Chen had been monitoring the energy readings from the planet's surface. When the massive power spike appeared on her sensors, she knew immediately what it meant. The enemy was preparing some kind of superweapon. Her response was typically human in its directness. All ships, emergency speed. Target the energy source and hit it with everything we have. If we let them finish charging that weapon, this entire region of space is going to become uninhabitable. The human fleet dove toward the planet like falling meteors. The remaining Devourer ships tried to stop them, but it was too late. Human determination, backed by human firepower, could not be stopped by anything the ancient predators could throw at them. The final assault on the Devourer base was brutal and decisive. Human Marines, trained to fight in conditions that would kill most other species, penetrated the planetary fortress through breaches torn in its hull by naval gunfire. They fought through corridors filled with horrors that had been collected from across the galaxy, past chambers containing the preserved remains of extinct civilizations. In the deepest part of the base, they found the Master of the Hunt and the last of the Devourer leadership. The ancient creatures had ruled through fear for so long that they had forgotten how to face an enemy that was not afraid of them. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes. When it was over, the species that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia was extinct. Admiral Chen stood in the ruins of the Devourer command center, looking at the records of their crimes. Hundreds of civilizations had died here, their final moments preserved as entertainment for creatures that fed on suffering. "Admiral," her communication officer reported, "we're detecting survivors in the lower levels. Multiple species, many of them from civilizations that were supposed to be extinct." Chen nodded. The Devourers had kept some members of their victim species alive, preserving them like museum pieces. Now those survivors would be free to rebuild their civilizations or find new homes among the stars. "Begin rescue operations," Chen ordered, "and signal command. Tell them we've eliminated a significant threat to galactic peace." As the human fleet worked to rescue the survivors and destroy the remaining Devourer technology, news of the battle spread across the galaxy. The reaction was immediate and profound. The peaceful species celebrated. For the first time in millennia, they could explore the galaxy without fear of ancient predators hunting them in the darkness. The more aggressive species took note and decided that perhaps it was better to have humans as allies than enemies. And in the depths of space, other predator species that had been considering hunting expeditions into this region of the galaxy quietly changed their plans.